Hey everyone, it's Hannah. I wanted to quickly ask if you are enjoying the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way in getting the show in front of other listeners. If you listen on a platform that doesn't do reviews, please follow us on social media, like the show, or leave a comment. Thank you. We love you guys, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to The Tales We Tell by Hannah. You say that's me?
Oh, that's me.
And Katy.
That's me.
With your co-host, Connor Parch.
Yay! Oh, great.
I just did the mom clap. Like, you did so good.
Good job,
yeah,
honey.
You put your clothes in the hamper.
I held the phone really close to the mic for that.
Gotta go.
Okay, bye.
Peace out.
Here we are. You know what episode this is, right? But we have two. We're doing,
we're doing it. Okay, so I see
combining
how it
them.
is.
We're
We're doing
combining.
two first, but Sam gets his own whole episode.
Obviously, Sam gets his whole own episode. Also, I'm not psychotic. I'm not going to do 8. Wait, hold on. What episode is
There's
this?
5.
6. I'm not going to do 7 Alcatraz episodes. I'm only going to do 6. Wait. I'm not going to do 8. I'm only going to do 7. Whatever.
7.
That was part 5. This is part 6. Sam will be part 7.
Okay. How was that part 5? I only remember 3.
Part 4, 5. Okay, never mind. Skip that. We're not doing 7. We're only doing 6. God, I can't do math in my head.
I think I was like,
I'm not mathing good.
did she do another episode without me? Or
Yes. I've been coming in here without you.
Just recording.
Just recording.
Then your next step is to start writing Alcatraz fanfic. You know that, right?
Oh, I've just been reading books into the microphone.
That's creepy. Your obsession with Alcatraz is totally fine. Or, not fine. I guess understandable, you know, and for other Alcatraz enthusiasts, because I know they're out there.
Yeah.
Understandable and relatable. But I think even they would agree that just sitting here and recording yourself reading Alcatraz books is just a bridge too far.
I did order another book.
I'm not surprised.
It's going to be here tomorrow.
Not surprised.
Okay, so today we're talking about James Boarman and Marvin Hubbard, who are not related. Last week, Ted Cole and Ralph Rowe were related in that they escaped together. These are just two people who happen to be on our wall who I'm combining into one episode. And also, last week's episode I feel like was kind of fun because it was like technically an unsolved mystery and like we can convince ourselves that they made it across the bay.
I 100% maintain that.
Yeah. They for sure made
survived.
It. They survived and like, you know, they lived out their
thing.
days. They did their thing.
Probably more crime. I
Definitely
imagine that was their thing.
Definitely just more crime for the rest of their lives.
I feel like also at that time it's just easier to be a criminal on the run.
Very much so.
Because now, you know, like you need IDs for everything. And
well, and there's cameras everywhere now. Yeah. When I was reading Jim Quillen's book, he was one of the inmates at Alcatraz, and he was describing everything up, like describing how he ended up there. One of the comments I made to Jarek, I was like, man, I feel like it was a lot easier to do crimes in like the 30s or whatever, because he was just like, and then we stole a car, and then we went to a hotel and just stayed there for a couple days because we had robbed a store and had money, and then we stole a car, and then we just switched out the license plates with another car, and I'm like, yeah, I guess you could just...
Were VIN numbers not a thing then?
Yeah, I guess you could just steal cars and switch out license plates and then go steal guns, and, like, as long as no one saw you, you're good. And you're fine.
I mean, you could just show up to places, too, and be like, I'm so-and-so, or my name is this.
My name is Melissa.
Yeah.
I am from Chicago.
Yep.
Also, I've been thinking a lot now of, like, how I would change my appearance were I to be on the run. Number one thing to go, my nails. I've been thinking about that a lot. I was like, damn, Katy really got me on the nail thing. I'm going to to get rid of my nails if I'm on the run. Dye my hair.
What color would you dye it?
Probably just like a dark color because that's easiest to do, and it would all fall out if I went blonde. We've tried that. Or I wouldn't cut it off. I can't do that. I'd cut it. I would go shorter than I have it now because I do like it short. I'd probably just, I don't know, experiment. I do like the fun thing I've always wanted to do, and if it turned out bad, I'd be like, oh well, it's for my own good. And I don't know, maybe, I don't know, that's as far as I got. I'll dye my hair, and I'll stop doing my nails, and maybe I'll quit wearing makeup. Okay. It depends. If I've been wearing makeup for a while, then I'll stop. If I haven't been wearing makeup for a while, then I'll start wearing a ton of makeup. Then no one will recognize me because girls are magic.
Yeah. See, my thing is I would wear more makeup, but I would wear like really heavy makeup, and I would also, I'd probably dye my hair probably black and cut it into a pixie, but just give myself a real edgy look.
Yeah.
Something that actually is attention. Like I wouldn't try to like fade into the background. It would be like,
yeah,
oh, look at that person. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Because there's some psychology that I had read somewhere or heard about that basically is like, if you're trying to like hide in plain sight or whatever, don't try to, fade into the background or whatever. Actually try to stand out, but in a certain way and still look different or whatever.
Okay. Like just join another. I feel like it's like join another clique.
Go get my lip re-pierced.
There you go.
Maybe do an eyebrow or
just get a bunch of facial piercings.
Yeah, but nothing on the nose because this thing is so big you don't need to draw more attention to it.
I want a nose piercing.
So you'd look cute with one. I think you could pull off a septum, but I think just a little stud in the nostril would be more you.
Jarek that because he doesn't want me to get one because his ex-wife had one.
Oh yeah.
At least I think that's why. So
see, like I said, I think you could pull it off.
Yeah.
But I like you better without one.
Oh, okay. I don't know. There's a lot of things I want to do. I want to do that. I want to get a tattoo.
Because I think a stud would be like the only way to go. Like just a little sparkle.
Yeah.
But not a ring.
Okay. I do like ring. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, what I was saying, that episode was kind of fun, and
this one is not.
This one's just going to be a little sadder. But this one is a good example of like why I wanted to look at inmate like profiles and like backgrounds and see like how they ended up at Alcatraz, right? One thing which I should have written this down, but I was talking to Amanda, our listener. I unloaded some Alcatraz on her, which thank you for listening, Amanda. She made the mistake of mentioning it. But she said something to the effect of like, trauma alters your brain chemistry or something.
And it's also I'd read somewhere too that it's also genetic too, or like trauma will be ingrained into your DNA or whatever.
Yeah. And it's just like, like your life experiences will f you up, and like trauma can change the way that you act. And so like, you can't just expect everyone who's having different life experiences to act and react the same way. And again, obviously our caveat to this, or like our disclaimer, is not excusing any crimes. Don't want to excuse any crimes, but
now you've had your heart broken and now you're like averse to love or whatever. It doesn't make it okay for you to be a dick about not wanting love.
Exactly.
But it explains it.
Yeah.
It's just a common theme in a lot of the books that I read. Like, who hurt you? Oh, you were left at the altar, and that's why you don't want to ever fall in love again. Get over it. I'm just kidding. All trauma is valid.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm going to open with a quote that I found, and I don't know which warden this is from. It could be Warden Dumbass. It could be a different one. But he said, "These are men," speaking of the inmates at Alcatraz, who have been tried and convicted of the most heinous crimes imaginable. Terrible men with nothing but time on their hands. And the reason I wanted to open with that is because that is the picture that I feel like administration and the painted and what the public was given of who these people were, which is also I think why I'm so fired up about it. And heinous crimes, no. Do we want to talk about heinous crimes? I can tell you about some heinous crimes.
We've talked about them. Albert Fish, anyone?
Yeah, I mean
several, the Toolbox Killers.
Oh my gosh, there's ones that
We've talked about a lot of heinous crimes.
I read a Wikipedia
way worse
page
than some of these guys.
1,000 times. I mean, there are men that I will not even cover because, I read one. Taylor had recommended one because I think he was on. It was someone they interviewed on Mindhunter, and I was like, oh, I'll look him up. And I got halfway through this Wikipedia page, and I was like, nope, will not, cannot. I mean, he essentially murdered 28 teenage boys in just the most heinous, awful way. Ed Kemper, heinous crimes. Ted Bundy, heinous crimes. Toolbox Killers, heinous crimes. You want to talk about heinous crimes? Yes. Robbing a Dr. Pepper store?
Yeah.
I would not call that a heinous crime. Perhaps he threatened someone with a gun and said, I'm going to kill you if you don't give me your $400 watch.
Oh, the kidnapping of, the carjacking and kidnapping thing. That is a bad thing.
Very bad.
Very bad crime. Not okay.
Those are not the most heinous, violent acts you can commit, though.
He lived.
Yes.
And that's also, yes, it was a traumatic experience, but that is something that he will be able to move on from and heal from and probably really be able to kind of get over that experience.
Yes.
I don't mean get over as in get over it.
I mean, but get over in that he lived.
Yes.
Continue to breathe and live.
He was not physically tortured or psychologically tortured. It was, probably a scary ordeal that he'll need time to work through. Whatever. Not a heinous crime.
Yes.
Not okay.
Not okay.
Not a heinous crime.
Yeah.
So I had a major issue with that quote.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Well, and that's why I wanted to open with it, because I wanted to remind everyone, what everyone was being told, and I feel like what everyone continues to be told is that Alcatraz was a place for the worst of the worst, the most violent, awful offenders out there. And it wasn't.
Were there some truly heinous criminals in there?
Yeah,
absolutely. Probably. We haven't talked about them.
We're not going to talk about them. Or not today, at least.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with James Boarman. You can look at your dossier. I did get you a nice color picture of him. I couldn't find one of Marvin. I'm so sorry.
What?
I got you some other pictures of him. Don't worry.
Okay.
Well, but you can go ahead and look.
I will. I just wanted to mention one other thing about the quote and telling their, and everyone painting that picture. It's another way of dehumanizing them.
Yes. Thank you.
And
And
I really freaking hate that.
Yeah. Well, because it makes
you did crime. You need to, be punished for these crimes. You are still a human being. Do some of your rights need to be taken away, like some of your freedoms and whatnot? Sure. Okay, maybe not but you need your basic human rights. You need to treat it as a human. Privileges, not rights.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole...
Yeah.
Well,
and
prison reform for some reason is some topic that I get so...
Because when you dehumanize someone, then it makes it so much easier to put them in a dark room with no sound and no light for 11 days.
The Stanford prison experiment.
Exactly. I swear I'm going to do that one. I swear I'm going to make it an episode. And it's and it makes other people, okay, because we're better than them. We didn't commit these crimes. We're morally better. And so it's okay that we're doing these things to them because they deserve it.
And an artist, I'm having a total brain fart right now, but the kind of art it's a statement piece, it's a exhibition. Performance art. Thank you. A performance artist did a piece where they stood just out in public, and I guess there was a sign or something saying, like, do whatever you want to me. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, move me,
was
do
it a
whatever.
Woman artist?
I don't remember.
Okay. I feel like that makes a big difference.
But, you know, it started out with, like, simple, like, started out kind of nice, actually. Like, some people would just come and give them a hug, mm-hmm. or, you know, give them a flower, or pose them into, like, a silly pose. Mm-hmm. Then some people, you know, then it kind of devolved rather quickly to, like, tearing off clothes, writing on them, like, writing, you know, mm-hmm. you know, mean words or whatever. Yeah. Making them pose in, like, uncomfortable or degrading, you know, ways. Basically, it devolved very quickly. Yeah. And it shows
a power trip. Yeah. It's terrible.
Oh, he's so cute. He's so precious.
I know. Okay, he's such a baby.
He is. This looks like a school picture, not his freaking Alcatraz mugshot.
Oh, man.
Is it a busted lip or is it just a scar? It might just be a scar. It's hard to tell.
It probably is a busted lip.
But that, like, little smirk, like...
Okay. So, James...
It's like, you suckers.
James Arnold Boarman was born on November 3rd, 1919, in Wayland, Kentucky. He was the 6th of 8 children, and his father died when he was 7. And so his mother, after her husband died, moved the whole family to Indiana. And I think that probably she had some issues with like keeping all the kids together at first.
There's 8 of them.
I know, there's 8 of them and there's 1 of her. Well, because there was something later where one of his sisters said, oh, we were in an orphanage together, which, like, I think was a common thing of, like, if you, like, temporarily, mm-hmm. I have to drop my kids off in this orphanage for a minute while I find housing or something.
This is in the middle of the Great Depression, by the way. Because you said he was 7. He was born in 1919. This is 1926, mm-hmm. 1927, around that time. Like, this is
right in the middle.
Not an okay time. Like, this is a tough time for most people.
Yeah.
It's an extraordinarily tough time for single mothers to 8 children.
I know. 8 kids.
This was the time people were literally, I think, selling their kids.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's that famous picture. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, eventually they all lived in a small apartment together. And the family was really close. Like, they were...
Yeah, they're crammed in there. Of course they're close. It's probably one bathroom.
Gosh. Maybe not even a bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 20s.
Yeah, it might have been one of those... there's one bathroom in the whole building. Mm-hmm. With the, 8 apartments in there.
But they were like a really loving, close-knit family, and they, like, did everything they could to support each other. So James dropped out of school when he was 14 to start working. He worked as a gardener. And his mom said that he, like, never complained about this. He never complained about their financial situation or having to, like, support his siblings or, like, give his entire paycheck to the family. He just, like that was just the kind of family they were. They were like,
awesome.
We have each other, and that's, whatever.
I love it.
I know, right? So you're like, okay.
You're giving me the warm fuzzies, and you're going to take them all away very soon. I already know it.
Well, so you're like, okay, this great environment, like this loving family, but he's also living probably in abject poverty. Mm-hmm. And so, like, it's not abnormal that he would kind of dabble in crime, I guess, or, like, get into trouble as a teenager.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like, petty crimes, like, I'm working hard, bringing home the paycheck, but, my sister needs glasses, or my brother got sick, and he wasn't able to work, and we needed medicine, and now we're, like, really tight on money. How can I get a few extra dollars? I know. I can pickpocket, or whatever you're about to say.
Well, I think he was maybe more into, like, the thrill of
Oh, never mind.
it because
I thought he was going for more of the...
Yeah, you had your heart in the right place.
It was all warm and fuzzy.
I know,
my heart doesn't get like that very often. I'm cold and dead inside.
Well, in 1936, when he was 16, he stole a car. Presumably not for money, just for
fun.
Funsies.
A joyride.
Yeah. So he was arrested and put on probation. And while on probation, he stole 2 more cars.
The first one was just so much fun.
I know. And with these 2 other cars, he flees to California with 2 buddies. But they get caught, right? Because they're
16.
They're 16. We said this before. Mushy teenage boy brains. Like, no offense, any teenage boy. No offense, Tim, to your teenage sons. They're just, their brains are mushy still. It's fine. They will get unmushy at some point, but not for a while.
Mm-hmm. I feel like they get unmushy, and then they get mushier, and then they get unmushy. Let's blame hormones.
Okay.
Because, like, when they're, like, kids, they're just kids. It's not whatever. And then, hormones and stuff, and you're like, oh, you're a different kind of stupid than you were yesterday. You're special kind of dumb.
It's just special. So he's arrested on this. His mom tries to argue for him in court, bless her heart. She says she was in the hospital at the time that he committed this crime, and she said he just didn't have the supervision he needed. If I had been around, he wouldn't have done this. And the court was like, that is not really a defense. Sorry.
You're an unfit mother.
Sorry, that's not a defense, which, to be fair, it's not. And so James is sentenced to 3 years in the federal reformatory in El Reno, Oklahoma. And this is in January of 1937. He did not go quietly. So
I like how you phrase that.
Like, think of Ted Cole, but like just way more chaos. Like, zero planning, more chaos. So,
is there any popping out of trash cans for him?
No. But the first thing he tries to do, okay, I take that back. So first, before he gets to El Reno, he's being held in a jail in Golden, Colorado. He gets into a bunch of fights while he's there. Because I don't know, he's a teenage boy. He's
rowdy.
He tries to escape from there by hiding under a table and then jumping out at a guard. So, like, not the best, not...
He extra mushy in the brains.
That's not the best thought, but, like, I see the end goal.
You gotta try everything. You don't know what won't work until you've tried it. I feel like it's not failing 100 times to make a light bulb. It's figuring out 100 ways to not make a light bulb.
I feel like he would end up at that camp where Stanley Yelnats was with the holes. Digging holes. Like, he's one of those kids. He'd have one of those nicknames. Anyways, so he gets to El Reno. He attempts another escape with 4 other inmates. So this one is like slightly more planned.
Because he's got teamwork too.
He's got some teamwork. So this one involved climbing a fence, kidnapping the prison physician in the parking lot, and then holding him hostage and stealing his car. I don't think they actually like had a chance to like do this before it was foiled, but that was the plan, and they all got in trouble for it.
Poor physician. He's just there trying to help, right?
I know, like, don't go after the prison doctor. Go after someone harmful.
Go after Warden Dumbass. Wait, he's over in Alcatraz. Never mind.
There's probably someone else corrupt there.
There might be another Warden Dumbass there.
I'm positive there is.
Warden for brains.
Yeah.
Warden Dumbass's cousin.
There we go. So in September of 1937, he was transferred to a more secure prison. They're like, get out of here. We don't want you here anymore. This is too much. This was like the Oklahoma City jail with Ted. They were like, please
just go.
Leave.
Just go.
So they sent him to Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary, and he didn't like it any better there. So he kept getting in trouble. At one point, he was found with an 8-inch homemade knife hidden inside a magazine in his cell. 8-inch knife. That is enormous. That's like the size of a regular... That's the size of like the knife I take to work to cut up my apples, which is probably bigger than it should be. But
why are you taking such a giant knife
to work?
Because
if it's hold on, because if it's too small, then
you just need a little paring knife.
No, we don't have one. A, and B, if it's too small, then I can't. When I'm trying to core it, I can't. I don't know. My hands don't work right when I'm trying to cut. I need it to be a certain size, and 8 inches is good for a knife. Everyone. And I guess
everybody else is thinking of.
Anyways,
we're all thinking something different.
8 inches is
they
a
just
great
keep
size for a knife. So he's caught with this knife, and he said he was, quote, just putting a handle on it for someone else. Sure. I believe that. Definitely. Mm-hmm. He was reported as being, quote, a reckless, very unstable psychopath who is not material for rehabilitation. I have a lot of issues with that.
Or he's just a kid who doesn't want to be confined to a freaking prison.
Yeah, because it's either 37 or 38 now, so he's either 17 or 18. Mm-hmm. I don't love, and granted, I don't know enough. I mean, like, it sounds like he's raising hell and, like, you know, being a huge problem.
Yeah.
I don't love calling him a psychopath.
Nope. Nope. He doesn't sound like it anyway.
I mean, he hasn't shown any empathy, but like
people use that term willy-nilly, and
I don't love that we're already saying he's not like material for rehabilitation, because this is just you've taken a teenager and you've thrown him in federal prison, and like obviously he doesn't want to be there.
See, just putting kids in prison is like sweeping under the rug mentality. It's just you just sweep it away and try to pretend the problem's not there.
And then you're like, why do we have all these dysfunctional adults?
Yeah.
It's like, gee, I wonder.
Because instead of taking the time to figure out what the problem was and work with him, you just lock them away and be like, oh, you know, go sit in the corner.
Yeah.
And think about what you've done. Like, yeah, I'll think about how fun it was to steal a car and how I'd like to steal a car again.
Yeah. And, like, he's one of these where I really wonder if certain resources had been available, not just, like, financially to him, but, like, in 1938 or whatever. Like, if therapy had been available or, you know, whatever. Like, if that was something that he could have benefited from I understand that he's an angry 18-year-old kid who is acting violently. So, like, I see the side of, like I see that judge who sentenced Ted to death. Not great. But, like, I see him, like, I see the adults who are seeing this kid who's, like, being a little shit. Mm-hmm. But I also see this kid who grew up in poverty. His dad died when he was young. His mom, like, can't support them. And he's just like, I just want literally a chance at anything other than, you know, poverty. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, yeah, I kind of get that. What are your options? So he, despite all of his bad behavior, he is released from Lewisburg at the end of 1939. And he actually, once he gets out, he gets a job at the RC radio company. So, great. Mm-hmm. Get a job.
Because, there's nothing that would show that, like, he wouldn't be able to function normally in society. Yeah, he didn't like being in a freaking cage. Yeah. Who would?
Yeah, shocking.
Of course he's gonna rattle the bars.
Exactly. Yeah.
But now that he's out, it's like, okay. And the fact that he could get a job after being in prison, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Ban the box, ban the box, ban the box.
So, so he gets a job, but then they have a round of layoffs, and he loses his job. And then he can't find another one. He tried to enlist in the military, but because of his criminal record, they wouldn't take him. So this is a quote from James. He said, okay. He said, "When I come out of Lewisburg, I intended to go straight. I got me a job, and I did go straight. I lost that job, and I couldn't find another one for hell. I tried to join the Army, the Navy, and the Marine Corps, and I didn't get in. So I went and got me a gun, and I started robbing." And it's like, yeah, I guess. I mean,
what else do you expect him to do?
Yeah, like, what else?
He's got, like, basically this option. He's got two options. He can either be a bum on the street and panhandle, or he can go and get money any legal way.
Yeah.
And, I mean...
Yeah. And it's like, obviously we're not telling people who can't or who are having trouble finding a job to go rob people, but...
Right, no, we're not condoning that. I'm not endorsing that. No. I'm not saying that was the good option or the right option. Especially today when there's unemployment, there's lots of services, there's lots of support opportunity out
we're
there.
Pointing out the problems in society that, I mean, granted, I guess it's the late 30s, early 40s now, so the Depression is over. But, like,
just because it's, like, over doesn't mean it's over. It was a slow recovery still.
Yeah. But, you're right. There probably was still a stigma against hiring convicted felons or people who had criminal records. He wasn't able to join the military because of his background. And this is, like, the war is happening at this point. It's 1940. Okay, I mean, it's not happening.
I thought for some reason in my head it was still 37.
No. A war is happening somewhere. Mm-hmm. You would kind of think they'd want everyone, but, like, he is trying to do the right thing. And it's like, okay, well, if you've been telling this kid you've been yelling at this kid, first of all, for the last several years to, like, get straight, do the right thing. You're a piece of shit. You're whatever, because he's acting out. And then he finally gets out and he's like, okay, fine. I'll do what everyone's telling me to do. And so he does one thing and they're like, no, that's wrong. He does another thing. No, you can't do that. Does another thing. No, you can't do that. He's like, fine, I'm going to stop doing these bullshit things you're telling me to do, and I'm just going to keep doing the shit that I know works, which is just taking what I want. And it's like, okay, James, I mean, like, you're... Okay. His story makes me so angry and sad. All right, so...
Because it's a story that's just as relevant today as it was then.
Yeah, it really is.
And sometimes worse, because as, rough as it was for him, the one thing that keeps flashing through my mind right now is, at least he's not black. Because it would have been 1,800 times worse.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, man.
But also, if he was black, we probably wouldn't have his story.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And therefore, we wouldn't be able to talk about him anyway.
I know. That's... Oh, my gosh. Like, just lost to history. Didn't exist, basically. Okay, so on the night of August 12th, 1940, James stole a car at gunpoint. And
he would never.
And he drives, he steals the car in Indianapolis, and then he drives to Lexington, Kentucky. In Kentucky, he gets rid of the gun, gets a different gun, and then drives back to Indianapolis. Well, he had to get a different gun.
Why does he need a different gun? He needs a different car,
I don't know.
Anything.
I don't know. I don't know how boy brains work. So he goes back to Indianapolis on the 15th, and there he robs the Fletcher Trust County Bank. So, bank robbery now.
Federal crime now.
Kind of escalating. He gets away with $12,812.
Nice.
It's 1940. That is over $280,000 in today's money.
He done good.
That is so much money.
Tell me he got to spend it a little bit.
He did get to spend a little bit of it.
Okay, good.
I shouldn't be happy about it. But
we are not condoning bank robberies. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with us?
Okay, no one got hurt in the bank robbery. No one died. I don't know if people got hurt. No one
got physically hurt.
No one died in the bank robbery. And like, I don't know, bank robbery. I'm like, well, the banks. Listen, the government takes your money anyways. So steal from the banks. Don't steal from individual people. Anyways. Don't steal from anyone.
We still pay the price for it, though.
I know. So,
because, the bank is federally insured by our tax dollars. Yeah, so they're stealing our money anyway. Go ahead.
Okay. What I'm saying is he could go steal from my credit union, but I can still go to Target the next day and buy a pillow because none of my money actually got taken because it's digital.
I was about to say, money is not real anyway.
Money doesn't exist.
God, this podcast is off the rails. We need a refresh. We need a Roots podcast after all this Alcatraz.
I know. I just need something. I'm laughing because it's so sad. Okay, so he has his $12,000, almost $13,000. He abandons his stolen car.
Good.
He steals another one.
Good call.
He drives to Owensboro, Kentucky. He abandons that car and then he buys a Buick for $600 in cash. So now he's like, I own this car. I bought it. And then he buys a rifle and a bunch of clothes. The car salesman he bought the Buick from was kind of suspicious because he bought the car with like all 5s and 10s and it was all cash. And so he did like call someone. Like I think he alerted the authorities because shortly afterwards, James is arrested in a hotel in Frankfort, Kentucky. He has $11,710 still on him, which means he spent $1,102. Only half of that was on the car. Mm-hmm. That's approximately $24,000 that he spent.
Good for him.
Good for him. So that's like $12,000 he spent not on a car.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's on like clothes and guns. I mean, which
and the hotel.
I mean, yeah, the hotel.
And food, probably.
But like clothes and guns are like good things, smart things to buy if you're on the run as a fugitive, I would say. Mm-hmm. Good job.
Way to go, mushy brain.
Good
way to go.
A decision that makes sense. So after his arrest...
Also buying a car, too.
Yeah, buying the car. And I'm sure he argued that he should be allowed to keep that car because he bought it. I'm almost positive he argued that. So after his arrest, he admitted to several other crimes that he apparently committed before the bank robbery, which included robbing some grocery stores and some gas stations and holding up 2 women in a parking lot.
Rude.
Don't do that.
James.
Don't hold up individual people, just businesses. And not small businesses, just big ones. Okay, this is a quote from, I think, maybe just his file or like the police. It says, he is a highly unstable and impulsive youth who is apparently quite proud of the fact that he has committed the instant offense, meaning the bank robbery, without the aid or advice of other persons. He is convinced, outwardly at least, that he is entirely capable of whipping the whole world and providing himself with funds, even if it is necessary to resort to physical force and the aid of firearms.
Unstable and impulsive describes literally every teenage boy.
Describing a teenager.
He's an unstable and impulsive youth. Yeah, they all are. Girls too.
Oh, yeah.
Impulsive and unstable. That's every teenage person ever in the history of the world.
I mean, granted, most of us are doing unstable, impulsive things like just cutting our hair, cutting your bangs in your bathroom at 3 a.m. But,
yeah. But still,
yeah.
Impulsive.
I will say, I think his little smirky mugshot is probably like pretty
that cocky grin.
Pretty like
the part about him being able to whip the world, like yeah, because he's a tough guy.
Yeah,
like, I robbed a bank. I steal cars. I've held people at gunpoint. I'm so tough. Like I could take anybody.
Yeah,
like that's just cocky teenage.
Yeah,
like
like nothing
young
can
man.
touch him,
That's,
right?
Yeah. That's invincible teenage syndrome right there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I was like, I think the mugshot just like is pretty accurate of the way his attitude was at the time of just, you know, that's why I said it. That probably is a busted lip that he had because, you know, whatever.
I think it's just a scar from it.
I don't know. So during one of his transfers...
Like I said, this looks like a school picture.
Well, because he's so young. He's a baby.
I know.
During one of his transfers to one of the jails, I'm sure, he tried to escape police custody again. So he was in the back of a police vehicle, and he kicked the back of the driver's seat with both feet, which threw the officer who's driving into the steering wheel and caused him to run off the road. And during this confusion, James tried to grab a pistol, which didn't work. And also apparently during the sentencing for this, after he was sentenced and he was being led out of the courtroom, he just like tried to make a run for it. Like this, I think this was just how he was. He was just like, I'm just going to run whenever I have a chance.
Hence the description of being impulsive.
Yes. So just, again... Whereas Ted was watching and waiting and slipping out of things, James is just...
always at the ready to shoot his
chaos and just doing, you know. So on October 28th of 1940, he was sentenced to 10 years, and he was immediately recommended for transfer to Alcatraz, which was granted. He was received on the island the following day as inmate 571, and he was 21 years old in that picture. Baby.
His frontal lobe isn't even fully formed yet.
His skull is still soft.
I mean, his skull's pretty hard. Let's be real. But the brain noodles in there.
Yeah, they're...
Your frontal lobe is your decision-making area, and it doesn't finish fully forming until around, I think, on average, 24.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my gosh.
So, like, sure, you're an adult at 18, but you're still a moron until you're at least 24. Even then, you're probably still kind of an idiot.
What was I doing when I was 21? I was graduating from college, right? No.
Most people were. I wasn't. I was...
Yeah. Was I? No, I was a junior in college. I was still in college. I was still learning stuff.
Same.
Jeez. According to notes from his record at Alcatraz, James said in interviews with, like, prison officials that he was, quote, the black sheep of his family and that he caused his mother a lot of trouble.
Wait, who said this?
James.
Oh.
Said this about himself.
Okay.
His family appeared to remain really, like, close and loving and supportive of him.
Like, we're disappointed, but we still love you.
Yeah. His mother actually insisted on moving to San Francisco so that she could be closer to him and, like, could visit him. And he tried to dissuade her from moving. Like, he was very much, like... I think he was very much of this, like...
I'm not worth it.
Yeah, I've caused too much trouble. I don't want to cause you more trouble. Don't move. Mm-hmm. But...
Stay with the rest of our family.
Yeah, but, like, she's his mom, and...
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, she's gonna move so she can see her boy.
100%.
So this is a letter that his sister, whose name is Mary Louise...
Especially since, again, it wasn't a heinous crime that he had committed.
Yeah. It's just he's lost his way. And
if I had a kid, not Walker, because he's obviously... There's no way he's capable of this. But if I had a kid who...
Knock on wood. Walker's gonna hit his...
God. If basically, if I was a mother to someone who, like, turned into a murderer and, like, really done some horrible stuff, I don't think I'm gonna move to go see my kid all the time.
Yeah.
I will still try and talk to them to try and understand. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna...
But if you can understand the crimes that you're, like... You can understand the things that he's done and why he's done them.
Yes. A heinous criminal, it's like, you've got to...
Yeah.
You gotta work to want to keep up a relationship or, like, to try to understand.
Yeah. She's very much wanting...
She's like, you know what? You've done... Yeah,
She's still
did crimes.
Yeah.
And that was bad.
She's still that mom who's saying, I wasn't there to supervise you.
Yeah. But He's not
16 anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a letter that his sister wrote to the warden, and I'm just reading this because I had to read it, and now everyone else has to hear it.
Warden dumbass?
Yes. This was written November 29th, 1940, so this was right after he got there. Dear Sir, my letter, and I pulled parts of it, it's not the whole thing. My letter was returned to me stating that I am not listed as an approved correspondent of James Arnold Boarman. Arnold and I are about the same age and have always been pals. It would be awful if I could not write to him. He will be away from home for a long time. Please reconsider to let me write to my brother. Arnold broke my heart when he got in trouble again. I so much wanted to see him go straight and be happy. We were in an orphanage together and I love my brother so much, so please let me write him. Arnold was swell to me and always called me Butch. Maybe you have someone in your heart like that you love. Please let me know by return mail, as I won't tell my mother until I hear from you, hoping that you will understand. And so, like, obviously she wasn't on because remember they had to, like, have everyone that they wrote to, like, approved. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, she wasn't on the approved list. And, I mean, I think the part that gets me is where she's just like, don't you have someone in your life that you love? Like, can you please understand why this is, like, devastating to us and our family and, like, to me? And just this, I feel like this is someone saying to fucking Warden dumbass, like, can you please see the humanity in my brother? And, like,
you might think he's not human, but there are actual people that there's people that you would recognize as human, myself, who are hurting.
Yeah.
So, like, do I also deserve to hurt? Because
and oh my gosh, I can't. There were several letters from James's mother to the warden asking about visiting. She was asking about visiting hours, and I think right when she moved up there, she was trying to figure out her hours at work and when she, like, if she could visit on Sundays and stuff. And on some of her letters, there would be, like, notes written by, like, prison officials or whatever. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So one of the notes on one of her letters says this. It's dated March 15th of 1942. It says, told that he would have to work and behave if he wanted his mother to visit him. Stated he did not think he was going to work and wished we would just tell his mother that he was all right. I told him we would have to tell his mother the truth. This inmate is in solitary. And it's like, okay, what good is this doing? Like, I understand that you have to, like, revoke privileges from people, but also, what good is keeping... You're already only letting them see visitors, like, once a month. They're not having any physical contact with anyone. Like, they're seeing each other through, like, you know, they can't have private I feel like this is more of just, like, stripping their humanity from them, of like, you did something bad, we're gonna take your mom away from you. Like, we're gonna take the one person that loves you away. Like, what can we take from you? Love. Like, it's just, I just want to fucking beat them in their fucking necks. I just let the boy see his mother. He just needs his mom.
Alcatraz is full of heinous criminals. It's the people who run it.
He just needs his mom, Katy. I'm gonna just very quickly recap his escape because we talked about it really briefly in whatever episode.
I think it was episode 2 or episode 1.
Episode 1, I think. Mm-hmm. So, on April 13th, 1943, James, along with 3 other men, Harold Best, Floyd Hamilton, and Fred Hunter, acted on an escape plan that was weirdly similar to Ted and Ralph's plan that was pulled off 6 years earlier. So they also worked in the mat room, and they spent several weeks cutting through these steel mesh window guards, which you would think that, like, at this point they would have maybe figured out that people were escaping through the mat room and would do something about that. But Anyway, they waited for a particularly foggy day, as did Ted and Ralph. And around 10 a.m., Officer George Smith was the only guard on duty. And at an opportune moment, Floyd Hamilton essentially jumped him. And then James steps out, and he has a knife and a hammer. And he...
How big was this knife? Another 8-incher? Or did he go for 9 this time?
Could be 12. Remember? 8 to 12. We can't get those. Boys can't measure.
Yeah.
Boy math. So he threatens to kill Officer Smith if he struggles. Officer Smith does, in fact, struggle. And so all 4 men end up, like, beating him into submission. They tie him up. They gag him. And then Officer Henry Weinhold comes around later to make the rounds. And he's also overpowered, tied up, and gagged. So then Floyd climbs out the window, and they pass him essentially a large piece of wood that's going to act as a plank between the window and the fence, which is where I would be piecing out of this plan. I'd be like, I'm cool with climbing down the window onto the ground, but if we have to cross a plank from a high window onto a fence, you understanding like what the okay, I'm just no, I'd be done. So that's how they get over the fence, and they get down to the water. One of the guys, where am I? Oh, sorry, I skipped a part. They strip down to their underwear and their belts. They've smeared themselves with engine grease to protect themselves from the water. They had canisters that they were going to use as flotation devices, but they didn't fit through the windows, so they abandoned those. They get out to the water. Fred has hurt himself coming down from the fence, so he just abandons the plan. He's like, I'm going to hang out in this cave. You guys go swim. So everyone else takes off in the water, and unfortunately it wasn't foggy enough that they couldn't be seen, because one of the officers in the watchtower sees them. Also at this time, Officer Weinhold has gotten his gag undone and was able to get a hold of Officer Smith's whistle and starts blowing it so everyone knows something's going on. So the officer in the watchtower immediately starts shooting at the figures. James is hit in the head right behind his ear. And Harold is swimming next to him, and he sees that he's hit, and so he grabs him and tries to continue swimming. And right around then is when the prison boat shows up and essentially arrests Harold. They said they tried to pull James into the boat using his belt and that his belt broke. But
they probably realized he was already dead, didn't want to bother with him.
Either way, yeah, he is essentially just abandoned and sank into the bay, and his body was never recovered.
His poor mother.
I know. Floyd ended up going back to the cave where Fred was. Fred's arrested he's found the same day. Floyd hid out for another couple days. Everyone thought he had died. And then he got very cold and very hungry and very thirsty and gave up. But that's how that escape attempt ended. And James, I think, was 24 when this happened. And I'm going to end his story with one more very sad letter. So sorry. This is April 14th, 1943, and this is from the mail officer to Mrs. Boarman, his mother. I'm sorry. I had to read it, so everyone else also has to. Okay. Dear Madam, I am sending your last letter to James back to you. I am sorry that I cannot make delivery. I know that you will be deeply hurt over the tragedy, but please try to remember that the boy went out like a man. It takes nerve, spunk, and backbone to do what he did. The last time I saw your boy, he was swimming towards Sausalito on his way to freedom. Don't think ill of the boy. He wanted to go, and all your prayers would not stop him. Perhaps I'm taking too much upon myself in writing this letter, but please believe me, I've seen you so often and talked about the boy with you that I almost feel that a note from me might help you after reading your mail and his mail for almost 2 years.
There's our hero.
I know. And that's James Boarman. The baby.
Pellet cleanser?
Yes, please. And I'm going to refill my wine. All right. You ready to hear about Marv?
Marv.
Okay. Did you see his picture?
No, not yet.
I just gave you like a nicer, cleaned up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's been like softened.
I AI'd it. I just put it through my, I don't know. I tried really hard, and I tried to colorize it, and it did not come out well. So, this is what we got.
Yeah.
Okay. You can look at your next ones too.
No.
All right.
That looks better than the other one. I don't know why.
Well, I will go ahead and give a shout out to the Gadsden Times because they did a 4-part story on Marvin written by Jan Walker, and that was very helpful. So Marvin Franklin Hubbard. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. We'll get to that. Don't worry. He was born on August 13th, 1912 in Boaz, Alabama to Fanny Holliday and Leonard Hubbard. So Leonard had 4 daughters already when he married Fanny, and then he and Fanny together had another daughter and then Marvin, so their first boy. Mm-hmm. And then they had 2 other kids afterwards. I don't know if they were boys or girls, but they had a total of 8.
About to say another 8-pack.
Big family. They were tenant farmers, and similar to James's story, Marvin's father also died when he was pretty young. Marvin was 4, or almost 4. His mother did remarry, though, but Marvin said he didn't like his stepfather, and even though his mom had remarried someone, Marvin always felt responsible for supporting his mother and his sisters, even though he was like even from a really young age, he felt responsible.
He was probably, because he was the first boy, so he probably was like, heard all the time, you're the man of the house, the man of the house, the man of the house.
Yeah, and at like 4 years old, you become the man of the house.
No, not putting that on my kid.
I know.
Be a kid.
Yeah. He had to drop out of school after the 1st grade to work on the family farm. And he actually ran away at the age of 10 to live with this is a relative of his stepfather, who's, it was a guy named Willie Wiggins. I don't know, I guess. It sounds weird when it sounds weird the way I wrote it, which was that he ran away to live with a man named Willie Wiggins.
It sounds like an imaginary friend.
It does. I think it was like a family friend. He ran away from home and went to live with this guy took him in because he taught him how to be a bricklayer. So he taught him like a trade.
There you go.
So Willie was like a good guy, I think. This is a quote from his mother that she would later say, I think, in a newspaper. She said, "My sweet little boy, his daddy died while he was still in rompers. He left me with 8 children, 4 mine and 4 his by a former marriage. I did the best I could. I tried to raise them as good Christians, but nobody will ever know the hard times we had." And I think that's another reason I wanted to mention the whole like trauma will alter your brain chemistry, because trauma can even just be like financial trauma, like having 8 kids and living in the 20s.
Oh yeah, no, I've never wondered if I was going to have, I've never had to wonder when my next meal would be, what it would be. I've been very fortunate my entire life.
Yeah. And you've never had to wonder how you're going to feed your child or your 8 children.
I have had times where, things were tight and I was stressed and worried, but I've always had a safety net.
Yeah.
And the only mouths I ever needed to worry about feeding were my pets.
Yeah.
Which, they're my kids, but again, safety nets.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as Marvin grew...
I could afford Alpo.
Yeah. Yeah,
if I had to, like, if it got real dire, I could afford just, gravy train.
Yeah.
Instead of the high quality food that he needs.
Yeah. Yes.
Can't do that when it's a kid.
It's true. So Marvin worked as a bricklayer. He had this trade. He worked as that. And he was known in his community as being generous and always willing to help, despite frequently getting in trouble for, like, small things.
He's a kid.
He's a kid. He's like a teenager. So he would give field hands rides to work despite his car being like a piece of shit. Like, he just had like a shit car, but he's like, I have a car. Yeah. You want to ride?
I might be able to get you there.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm driving, so we'll get to wherever it takes us. A quote from one of the articles is, if a saw blade broke and Marvin heard about it, a new blade would appear with no questions asked the next day, so work could resume. And as I was reading this, I was like, wow, this sounds kind of like Jarek. Just like getting into, I mean, I feel like Jarek, probably before I knew him, like, as I have heard, he and his brother were like getting into trouble. Like, I know they got into like stupid trouble as teenagers, but also Jarek is like a very generous, kind person.
They're good kids.
Yeah.
Who were just being kids.
Yes.
And a little bit of mischief, just a little bit of normal troublemaking. Like,
yes.
That's part of being a kid. It's testing boundaries. Yes. It's making mistakes. It's learning.
Yes. That's very much the picture I was getting of Marvin, was like, he was a great kid. He was really generous. He was like, you know, he'd give you the shirt off his back if he needed to. But he was also getting into trouble because, you know.
Yeah, that saw blade would appear. Did he pay for it?
Yeah.
Or did he...
No question.
Did he steal it from the hardware store or something? But yeah, no, like if the thing was broken and nobody was working, that meant nobody got paid.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
We need a saw blade so that we can all work and we can all get paid. We'll make that happen.
Yes.
There's a problem. He solved it.
He solved it.
He solved it. He's a problem solver.
Solver. That one didn't work as well. On January 8th, 1928, 16-year-old Marvin married Lola Bell Johnson, who was 19.
Ooh, bagged him an older gal.
I know. I love this for him. And I assume that's their wedding picture there. Mm-hmm. That very same year, they had their only child, who was a son named Marvin Edward Hubbard. So that next picture is
he's cute.
Them with their little baby. And I will tell you, that little baby boy grows up to look exactly like Marv.
Good.
Because I've found another picture that just looks like this guy standing next to an older version of her. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. You're wearing a military uniform. According to Lola, Marvin was, quote, very kind and generous-hearted and, quote, made good friends with all whom he met and was well thought of in the community which he lived. She said he was a good husband and father when he was around. And she said that in her opinion, his greatest obstacle was his lack of education and the people that he chose to associate with. Mm-hmm. She called them, quote, the wrong kind of characters who gave him the wrong opinion of life before it was hardly started for him. And, like, so she's a couple years older than him. And also...
probably more educated, maybe?
Yeah, and, like, I mean, I hate to keep bringing up brains, but, like, he's 16, and she's a 19-year-old girl. So, like...
girls mature faster than boys,
Girls do mature faster than boys. Mushy boy brain. So, like, she's probably looking at this already with, like, a little bit more maturity. And then she's saying, like... well, you know, he's barely gotten started in life and he's already hanging out with these, like, kind of seedy characters who are already kind of giving him the wrong opinion of life before he's even had a chance to experience it. So, I don't know. Like, yeah. So these wrong characters eventually led Marvin to commit a string of violent robberies, which led to several short-term prison sentences. And Lola noted that he would often be away from home for like 5 to 6 months at a time. And unfortunately, Marvin Jr. grew up mostly with little to no contact with his father. So I think like very shortly after they got married and had their child is when he kind of fell into this criminal behavior, and then it just, like, kind of escalated or, like, snowballed. By the time Marvin Jr. was 16, he would end up having to drop out of school to support his mother. So that's where we're headed.
At least he made it past first grade. He made it to high school.
That's true. He did. So
maybe Marvin Jr., Marvin the Third, made it all the way to college.
Here we go. Maybe. So in 1936, so we're just gonna skip a bit. Our Marvin Sr. Is arrested for grand larceny. These boys and their cars. Boys love to be stealing cars. And he gets sentenced to 5 years in Kilby Prison in Montgomery, Alabama. So he escaped somehow, which I don't have details on, but he was recaptured and sent back. And by the time of his release in 1941, he and Lola had officially separated. I don't think they ever got divorced, but they were not happily married.
Well, here in the South, it's a lovely thing that you have to be legally separated for a year before you can officially get divorced or even, like, officially start divorce proceedings.
Yeah, it's true.
Only in extreme cases
you would think
you allowed to be granted a divorce in under a year. And that's, like, obvious, like, physical and, like, well-documented physical abuse.
Yeah. Although you would think that, like, one of these people having lived in a prison for several years would count as, like, that's when the separation started. On August 7th of 1942, while he was being held in the Walker County Jail in Jasper on federal auto theft charges, Marvin, along with 2 other men, broke out. It's county jail. It's small town. They did this by assaulting a guard, locking him in a closet, and stealing a submachine gun and a revolver. Then, okay, hold on to your brain for a minute, because this gets wild. Okay, so they leave the prison, they carjack a taxi, and then they force the driver and his occupant. So this taxi driver was, like, in the middle of giving a ride.
Probably just at a stoplight, I guess.
They're like, nope, take us. So this taxi driver and then this poor other person who was just like, I'm just trying to get to, like, the Dunkin' Donuts. They forced them to take them to Huntsville, Alabama. On the way there, the car blows a tire. So they're like, hold on, wait right here. We're going to carjack another person, and we're going to force this person to take us plus the taxi people.
What? They're not a part of this. Just let them be.
No, they have to come with us.
Oh my gosh.
Because they would go tell the authorities. So
they still have to fix the tire first. You're getting a good head start.
They have 3 hostages now. So they are now on the rest of the way. They have to keep getting to Huntsville. So they get to Huntsville, and then they continue on to somewhere called Grassy Mountain, Alabama. Once they get there, they tie up their hostages to a tree, like old movie style. I imagine they just, like, line them up around the tree and then
one
use
big
one
rope. Yep.
one big rope. And then just left them at like 9 o'clock at night. Then they found a secluded place in Cedartown, Georgia, and they hid out.
I hope they stopped for snacks at some point, because as a hostage, I would be livid.
That's the part you'd be mad about.
I would be hungry. Be like, I will be a willing hostage, but you have to feed me.
Like, can you just take me the rest of the way with you?
Like,
leave me tied to a tree.
You gonna hold me hostage? That's fine. Will there be snacks?
You have to be a useful hostage. Useful hostage.
Yeah, I will be a willing hostage. I will.
You're a demanding hostage right now. You have to be useful so that they want to take you with them. You're just demanding snacks. That's why they're going to leave you tied to the tree.
All I'm saying is you feed me and I do what you want me to.
Okay, well, that's sounding... You're with 3 men from prison, Katy. That's sounding a bit
Be like,
with their 8-inch knives.
feed me first. Buy me dinner first.
This is why Shelton doesn't listen to this podcast. This will be the one episode he listens to.
I left tonight and he's like, all right, have fun. You know, you'll be great. Or have fun or it'll be great or whatever. You know, like, I know it will or it always is. I'm like, how do you know? You don't listen. You don't know if it's great or not.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so they've left their hostages that they didn't feed behind. They're hiding out in Cedartown, Georgia.
No. Marvin is a very generous soul. I guarantee they stop for snacks at some point.
Probably Marvin fed them. On August 13th, they hijack another car, but this time they released the driver. They're like, that was too much. Yeah. It was very crowded.
We can't afford to buy you more snacks.
There was 6 people in one car. It was too much.
6? That was just two inmates and then 3 hostages.
It was Marvin and 2 other inmates.
2, okay.
Plus
for some
3
reason.
hostages.
So yeah, that was a crowded car.
Crowded car. Hope they had a third row in the back.
No, I think it was just the 3 and 3.
It was a lot. So they learned, and they didn't want to spend money on snacks. So they let this driver go. They took the car to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Woohoo! I used to live there.
Well, great. They took it to your part of town.
I miss Chattanooga. It's a great town.
While in Chattanooga, a police officer named Logan Stroud stopped them for a traffic violation and tried to arrest them, I guess. And they were like, nope, you're going to come with us. So they kidnapped a police officer.
Yeah, nope, that's going to make things a lot worse than they are. Things are already bad.
Yeah. And
it doesn't matter how many snacks you buy him. You can buy him all the donuts. It's bad.
Well, they also took him from Tennessee into Catoosa County, Georgia.
Ooh, crossing state lines.
Yeah, so now
more problems. More problems.
Yeah. It becomes bigger if you take a hostage across state lines.
Especially an officer of the law.
Yes.
Things are already magnified 10 times.
And apparently, this is where Marvin's generosity comes in to play. Apparently, according to Officer Stroud, one of the men wanted to kill him, and Marvin convinced them that they should let him live. So, I mean, at least Marvin's like, we can't be doing heinous crimes. We can only be doing
moderate crimes.
Moderately violent crimes. So we
have to threaten the violence, not actually commit the violence.
Yes, exactly. So
don't commit to the bit.
So they end up at their friend Henry Christian's house, where they hide out. They tie up Officer Stroud.
Sounds like a fake name.
Who knows what his? I don't know.
Like, oh, I got a friend. You know, like, I'm not a bad guy. I've got a friend named Henry Christian.
Henry Christian. That sounds like what was Maybe's alter ego in? Was it Shirley or
Shirley Funke?
Shirley Funke. Okay. Shirley and Maybe. Mm-hmm. She was.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so they tie up Officer Stroud and they lock him in the milk shed out back. And early the following morning, so it's now August 14th, Officer Stroud manages to escape. He's got like a tiny piece of metal in his pocket and he like movie style.
Oh, he doesn't have 8 inches, huh? Poor Stroud.
The tiny details I'm getting out of these things that are just turning into...
Officer Stroud is not proud.
Little penis jokes. Maybe it was an 8-inch piece of metal. I don't know. Maybe it was 6 inches. Who knows? Honestly...
It got the job done. That's all that matters.
Honestly, 6 inches is fine.
You just got to get the job done.
Honestly, 8 inches is like... Whatever. Anyways, he cuts through... Jarek, use your discretion when editing.
He's like, I'm cutting that part out. I don't want people inferring anything.
I'm thinking like in a movie, you know how they like find something in their pocket and they like saw through the bindings.
Like, I have a metal nail file, and it's like, who even owns a metal nail file anymore, and why do you have it in your pocket?
Why do you have it in your back pocket? That's a very unsafe place to keep it.
Like, if anyone's gonna have it, a woman's gonna have it in her purse.
Yeah.
Not in her pocket. Because, A, women are not seen as, real citizens who deserve pockets. Meanwhile, my toddler has pockets, and he has discovered them, and that he can put things in them.
Also,
he likes putting his keys in his pocket.
Oh, that's cute.
It's adorable.
Also, you're never going to have the thing you need when you need it, because it's going to be, it'll be in your other purse that you left at home or in the car.
See, I barely have a purse anymore. I have a diaper bag. And I have a wallet that has a big strap that I can wear as a purse. But mostly the wallet just lives in the diaper bag.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, make sure you keep a 8-inch piece of metal in there somewhere.
I will. I've got a nice knife. It's not 8 inches, but I've got a pretty solid knife.
6 inches will do. Okay. Anyways, Officer Stroud escapes is the point. I need to stop looking past you when I'm talking about these things. I'm like,
you're getting distracted.
I'm like 8 inches will do.
Yeah, I'll do 8 inches for sure. If we're gonna keep going,
it's almost over.
Let's just kill the bottle.
Let's kill it. Okay. Officer Stroud escapes for the 4th time that I said that.
Okay, I was like,
okay.
No, he only escapes the one time.
I'm just trying to get...
Because unlike Ted and Marvin, Ted and James, he only needed the one time to escape properly.
Yes, true. He escapes, and an hour later, FBI agents are at this house, and they are heavily armed, because Officer Stroud is like, hey, these guys are heavily armed.
We're gonna be armed.
More armed.
They got 8 inches, we got 9!
Should have put a warning at the beginning of this.
We can record something for, be like, but, by the way, this episode starts out as a...
This episode?
I've had a lot of wine.
This episode has a lot of innuendo.
It starts out as a Tiny Tim and Dante episode and quickly devolves into a penis joke episode. It's just one penis joke after the other.
Well, we don't ever actually mention... until right now, we haven't actually said...
Everyone knows.
Tiny Tim and Dante don't know.
The first time... How old are they? Like 10? They know. They're boys. They know. Every time we have said 8 inches and giggled... like that... everyone knows what we're thinking. Because they're thinking it too.
Yeah, I know.
Because we're squishy 30-year-old brains.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Or mushy 30-year-old brains.
Okay. Serious time. There's shooting happening. Someone dies.
I'm overcaring.
It's not Marvin. Marvin doesn't die.
Obviously.
One of the guys he's with dies. I know. I read his name and I didn't write it down. Marvin and the other...
Because he's a victim, but he's not really a victim.
Yeah. I mean, he's not part of the story, which is why I didn't write his name down. Marvin is injured, and him and the other guy are both taken into custody. That's what that picture was, where he's like covered in blood and overalls.
That's blood?
Yeah, that's.
I thought it was mud. I thought he had been like hiding out under
rolling in the mud.
House somewhere.
No, but wearing the overalls, I like.
I do. Why? Okay, why back? I know that back in the day. Mm-hmm. Wearing pants with the waist way past the belly button, right, up to your nips was the thing. But overalls, why does the bib come all the way up? Why is it an actual bib? It's right under the collar. He's wearing them way too high.
I don't know.
You need to wear those lower, show off a little bit more chest area, Marvin.
Ask Dickie.
Because based on his arms there, I bet he was... not bad to look at.
Really feel like anyone looks great in overalls, but...
I look awesome in overalls.
I mean, you look women
you know who
great.
looks even better in overalls?
Shelton?
My child.
Oh.
You've seen the pictures. You've seen him in overalls.
I mean, women look great in overalls.
I'll put him in overalls when we go for our dinner date.
Oh, okay, great.
So you can enjoy
Okay.
the overalls.
That was a very brother where art thou look that he was sporting.
For sure. And that's probably why I thought it was like dirt and mud. Like I thought he had been hiding out under a house or something.
Yeah. No. That's definitely blood all over him.
Cool. Cool.
So they're charged with kidnapping, and like the bad kind because they crossed state lines. They're remanded to the Knox County Jail. On September 11th, Marvin and 2 other prisoners escape because it's county jail.
Yeah, they gotta put a bell on this guy.
They overpower a guard and an elevator operator, and they're recaptured. He's like 2 days later. So Marvin's found guilty on the kidnapping and illegal transportation of firearms and sent to the federal penitentiary in Atlanta to serve a 30-year sentence. While he's there, he took part in an elaborate but ultimately failed escape attempt, which included using fog as cover. What is on my hand? It's a hair. It's a hair.
It was training for Alcatraz then, using fog as cover.
Yeah. Use nature. A makeshift ladder to scale the wall. And, oh, that was it. Sorry. It's like more points. No, just fog and a ladder. It's just climbing over the wall during a foggy day. That was the plan. And even though he was cooperative with officials, like he essentially told them like who was involved and like what they were going to do. And he wasn't like a leader in it. Like he wasn't like a planner. He was just like a participant. They were like, this
is the final straw.
Yeah.
You're going to the rock.
Yep. They deemed him incorrigible, which is like,
well, I want to be deemed incorrigible.
That's like the word. That's like the magic word. And in 1944, he was sent to Alcatraz.
I think I would like
you put that on your tombstone.
Hardcore swoon if Shelton was just super frustrated with me when just like, you're incorrigible, and I'd be like,
ooh,
yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm not really kidding. I just have to say that because my dad listens to this podcast.
I'll send Shelton a text and let him know. I'll just pull. You know what? Actually, what's gonna need to happen is that me and Shelton are both gonna have to be like a little drunk, and then I'm gonna have to pull him aside at like a party or something and tell him. I cannot say that in a text or like sober. I can't say it like sober at our next movie night.
He's not invited to the next movie
night.
God,
no, he can't come to the next movie night.
He can make a charcuterie board, and then he can GTFO.
He's so bad at movie night.
He's terrible at movie night.
God, he picked a terrible movie, and then he made us watch like a 2-hour movie after that. God, it was so bad.
The only saving grace was that charcuterie board. He did good there. Because that homemade honey mustard.
That was homemade?
Yeah, he made that up.
Oh, that was delicious.
It was so good.
Very good. I was so tired.
God, I just want to... I mean, I was already going up to bed. I was like, I'm being a terrible friend and hostess. But
you're like, okay, bye.
I was like, all right, Hannah, bye. I love you.
You were walking up to bed, and I was like,
still putting your shoes on.
And Shelton's like, what did you think of the movie?
I was like, just let her leave.
I thought we already...
Just let her go.
I thought we already discussed it.
God, that was your own escape from Alcatraz there.
It involved fog.
I'll get a smoke machine.
Oh my gosh. I need to figure out the next time I'm going to be drunk with Shelton. I need to trigger my mind to remember to say the word incorrigible the next time I'm drinking with your husband so that I can remember this. Okay.
Just next time you have red wine, just like text me or something, or like we'll talk about the word incorrigible, and we'll just have an association now between red wine and incorrigible. Because
and then I'm just gonna think about you having sex, so it'll be a weird.
So I said it as a joke, but you want to know our actual, but like still a joke, dirty talk?
Yes.
I'm just like, see this thing? I bought this today. That's nice. it was on sale. And he's like, oh, tell me more. And I'm like, I went to this place. There was a clearance.
Ooh.
So yeah, we pretend to get all turned on and hot and bothered when we talk about how much money we saved on things.
That is nice.
Like, I went to the grocery store this morning. Everything was BOGO.
Sometimes Jarek will tell me how much he spent on cheese, and that, like, if he brings home a nice cheese, but it was on sale. That's a big one. Yeah.
And it's like it's a joke,
but it's also kind of serious because you're like,
a little bit. It's like,
wow, good cheese for like $6.
Like, you know, it's like awesome job of saving my, like, that makes me happy, and also like kudos to you, good job finding the deal.
Yeah,
but also like that doesn't actually turn me on.
Yeah, you know, like, but let's for real talk about foreplay.
That's foreplay when, you know, the kids are around.
Oh my gosh.
God, this episode's a show.
I have like one more thing to say, which is just the saddest ending. Because I don't have like sad letters from Marvin while he was in Alcatraz.
He has no relationship with his child. That's sad enough.
I know it's really sad. And 2 years after he ends up there, he would become one of the instrumental players in the infamous Battle of Alcatraz. So it was him, Bernard Coy, and Joseph Kretzer, and that took place on May 2nd of 1946. And so, like, if you think about where he started as just like a friendly, nice guy who was like helpful and generous, who was just like kind of getting into trouble, and then he ends up at this like awful prison, and like I almost can see like he wants to be part of something, he's loyal, and then like the way that it ended with them, if anyone remembers, is like essentially things went wrong with their plan, and the three of them said, we're gonna go down fighting. And 2 days later, you know, after 2 days of fighting, they were killed. So he was killed on May 4th of 1946.
Honestly, if I were put in prison, like, pretty much any prison probably would be like, okay, yeah, no, I'll do my best to, you know, kind of keep my head down, my nose clean, just like, do my time, get out. But if you put me in Alcatraz or any kind of similar prison or situation where, you know,
like you can't win.
Yeah. Like, even if you are a model inmate, they're still going to find reasons to punish you more.
Yeah, life is still going to be hell.
It doesn't matter what you do. You're still going to be wrong. You're still going to be treated poorly. Whatever. Then, yeah, why not? Why not try and find a way to escape? You know, like, if you know, again, like, I'll serve my sentence just about anywhere, but a situation like that, you're not allowed to talk at all to anyone?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Like, and, like, if you don't have a relationship, I mean, he's separated from his wife at that point. He doesn't have a relationship with his son. And it's like, I mean, yeah, if you don't feel like you have anything to live for on the outside, I guess. And what's so sad, too, is, like, looking at his story and looking at James's story, where it's like, James did have stuff to live for on the outside, and he was just, like, they're almost so opposite. Like, they're so similar, but they're so opposite, where it's like, he did have everything to live for, but he was just so the other way, like, so, like, headstrong, I can take on the world, nothing can touch me.
Well, James is a cocky little...
Well, yeah. But also, like, I don't know, they both, like, grew up in the Depression. Like, it's just, ugh. I don't know. I hate it. It's awful. And unfortunately, you know, Sam's story is not going to be a happier one.
Sam gets his own episode.
Sam gets his whole own ass episode. because he deserves it, and I gotta find a good color picture of him. I gotta find new frames. These frames all the other ones are too small. Mm-hmm. So,
because these are little bitties.
They all came from flea markets. Yeah. So we're very serious. This has all been
This is a totally serious podcast.
Very serious podcast. We talk about very serious things like prison reform.
Yeah. Also, by the way, sorry for this has been a roller coaster of an episode.
Uh-huh.
Because, I mean,
we drank a whole bottle of wine, and
there's that. I mean, we started out kind of like normal. Still kind of...
We started out with Connor calling us and putting...
Oh, no, you're right.
We started out completely chaotic.
Yeah, that's been chaos from the start. You're right. I just meant, story and content-wise.
Okay, yes.
Once we got into the story...
we started very serious.
And then I got all, ranty, soapboxy about prison reform.
Mm-hmm.
We both kind of, really got into the whole, criminals' rights thing.
Yeah,
which,
love that.
Again,
that's
my whole
Alcatraz thing, yes.
Criminals do bad things.
Mm-hmm. But we're pro-criminal on this podcast.
Apparently we're pro-criminal. Gosh.
We're dedicating 3 episodes to them.
We somehow then devolved into penis jokes.
Mm-hmm. Because we have mushy girl brains.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We're
all equal rights here, man. We're going to talk about mushy teenage boy brains, but we will also make penis jokes because we have mushy girl brains.
Just because we're going to make fun of mushy teenage boy brains doesn't mean that we did not also have mushy teenage girl brains as teenagers.
We still giggle when anyone...
Oh, I still giggle. I'm a 13-year-old boy at heart sometimes. So.
I giggled when I was listening to our last episode, and we were talking about... We said something about Ted's IQ, and it was 69.
I remember being like... Don't say anything.
No, you did giggle.
I did?
You did. Dang it. And I'm trying to explain what it means in classification terms.
Nice.
But me and my car.
69. Nice.
Me and my car was nice. I was I hope he did that on purpose.
I did do that on purpose. I saw some cute story about somebody's little brother or nephew or something. It's old enough to be, I guess, kind of on the internet or whatever, but still kind of too young to know what 69 actually is. Uh-huh. And they made some reaction to the number 69, and the older brother or uncle or whoever it was like, What? You know what that is? You know what that means? He's like, yeah, it's an internet meme. It's whenever somebody says this, the number 69, you laugh and say, nice. And he's like, phew, okay, yeah, nope, that is right. You think that for as long as you can.
That's definitely what it is.
That is. You got it.
That's all it is.
100%. It means nothing else.
Oh, man.
Well, if you are still with us after all this nonsense, and you want to see the pictures of adorable baby James. I say baby, he's not actually a baby. He's a baby.
He's 21. 24. He's 21 in that picture. I'm sorry, he's 21. He's
well,
a baby.
Also young in some of the other mugshots that you've got on there. If you want to see pictures from tonight's episode, you can check out our Facebook and Instagram at The Tales We Tell Podcast. If you want to see pictures but don't do the social media, check out our website, thetaleswetellpodcast.com. If you want to support us and get yourself some sweet, sweet swag, you should check out our Redbubble store. Mm-hmm. We've got several different logos, and you can get that on anything.
I feel like it's time we have an Alcatraz logo on something.
Maybe. I still have a logo in my brain that I need to put on paper.
Probably.
I'm gonna do that for you real soon.
Okay.
I've put it out into the ether, and it's gonna happen now. If you want to support us but you don't need the stuff, you can become patrons at patreon.com. Search The Tales We Tell. You will get some stuff, aka early access, commercial-free listening, sometimes some bonus content. You also get, random stickers and love notes, Christmas cards. I'm sure we've got extras we can send out to new patrons, even though it's after Christmas.
I know. Yeah, we do.
So it's a good
We can
time
make
there.
cards for every holiday too. We could do Valentine's Day cards.
We should do Valentine's Day cards for our patrons.
Should. It's just an excuse for us to take pictures together.
That's right.
That's really all it is. And put them on cards.
We should take pictures with 8-inch knives.
I'm going to measure the knives in my kitchen after this. And I'll send you a picture. I'll post it on Instagram.
That's great.
So everyone check
Again, Instagram and Facebook.
The Tales We Tell podcast.
All right, so we've got coming up either a Sam episode or potentially we might have a little Alcatraz breather if I can get my together.
Yep.
And we've got another creature feature coming up.
Also,
go ahead.
I was just going to say pretty soon our 200th episode is coming up.
We have to do another something, don't we?
You mean like cake or just... Because I know what our 200th episode is going to be.
No, I meant like celebration-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know,
that's what I meant.
Last time we kind of like did a thing leading up to it. And...
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can have a cake. I don't know.
Oh, we should definitely have cake.
We should have cake for sure.
100%. We should have cake next time just because, you know, cake.
I made a really great Spider-Man cake last week.
Oh, how did it turn out? You gotta show me pictures.
I have to find pictures from someone because we ate half of it at the party, and then no one wanted to take it home. Like I wasn't gonna take it home, and
you're like, no, I made that.
Like I don't need that at my house. And also the icing had so much blue and black food dye in it. I was
you're like, I know what went into that.
It's gonna turn all of our mouths black. Yeah. And Hannah was like, we don't need this at our house. And she was like, are you going to be really offended if I throw it away? And I was like, I don't care. That was my gift to your child. So, like, do what you want with it. So we threw it away. So we got pictures of it. It was so windy outside that she couldn't blow out the candles.
Couldn't even light the candles.
We lit the candles and they all went out as we were singing to her. I think we lit one and she was able to blow it out. But
that's good.
I'll find a picture. It turned out... You could tell what it was, I think.
It was a Spider-Man cake.
I didn't have to buy a Spider-Man figure and put it on top. So
there you go.
You know, we did
That's
okay
a win.
there. It's a win for me. So we'll have a cake. We're going to have a 200th episode that I have a lot of research to do for because I know what the episode will be about. Thank you guys for hanging in there for Alcatraz. I'm sorry that it's a whole personality trait. But again, we're leaning into the hyperfixation because I'm counting that as self-care. Because otherwise my brain could be hyperfixating on made-up phobias.
I saw a great ADHD video the other day, and he was, like, painting the trim of the window. I'm like, what are you doing? Painting the trim. Is that what you're supposed to be doing? Or, like, oh, what are you supposed to be doing right now? And he goes, what I am doing is what I am supposed to be doing. And I was like, yes. That's what I need to tell myself to alleviate myself of the guilt.
Yes.
Of like, I know I'm hyperfixating on this thing, even though there's like, I need to be doing the dishes, or like I'm supposed to be vacuuming the living room, or I'm supposed to be like, no. What I am doing is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes. And I tell myself that also when certain people, sometimes remind me that Alcatraz is not the theme of our podcast, which I remember, but also I remember that it's our podcast and it can be whatever we want it to be. And sometimes it's an Alcatraz podcast, because sometimes that's just my entire personality, which is what it is right now. And Katy's okay with that. So, you know, and
for one more episode.
And
then we need a several month break before you put any more Alcatraz juju in here.
I promise. I did find one more cool thing, but I won't make it an episode. I'll just tell you about it separately.
Perfect.
Maybe Saturday.
Perfect.
Okay. Or maybe over dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Well, until next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mwah.